Redstone is one of Minecraft's most interesting and unique elements. You either love it, or you hate it. But one thing which we can all agree on is that it's enabled and given players the ability to do things that are truly incredible and has made the game so much more interesting. Some players like Redstone and the technical side of the game so much that they dedicate dozens of hours to building the next revolutionary farm design, redstone contraption, or maybe they're just trying to compact an intricate piston door. Whatever players are trying to do, Redstone is one of the best features of Minecraft as we know it today. It's made survival so much more interesting than it would have been without it. But you see, it wasn't always like this. For a fair amount of time, Redstone acted quite differently to how it does today. In fact, Redstone wasn't even the first method of technology added to the game. There was going to be a different version of technology, which you will soon see. The point I'm trying to make is that Redstone and the technological side of Minecraft has come so far throughout the past decade, and it's truly incredible to see how we went from simple mechanisms like an automatic door to massive scale and jaw-dropping farms as well as contraptions. Today, we're going to go through the history of Minecraft Redstone and the technological side of the game, talking about some of the major changes and coolest designs and how they changed Minecraft forever. So, let's begin. Alright, so like I briefly mentioned in the introduction, Redstone wasn't actually the first method of technology added to the game. In a video uploaded by Notch on January the 26th, 2010, Notch showcases a block called Gears. Now, the video is short and we don't get too much information, but as you can see, gears could be placed vertically on walls and would rotate around. Unfortunately, the Minecraft wiki doesn't have too much extra information either, as gears seem to be largely experimental and never had a clear or defined functionality. Anyways, gears were only present in a few early in-dev versions of the game and would be removed completely not long after in Minecraft Alpha version 1.0.1, where redstone ore was added, likely in its replacement. Old worlds which had gears in them were converted to redstone dust instead, and redstone inherited gears' data value of 55, displaying more evidence that gears were intended to be Minecraft's first form of technology. But let's move on now, as with the release of Minecraft Alpha version 1.0.1, we got the first version of redstone in the game. Redstone was interesting around this time. First of all, walking on redstone dust would break it, and it looked slightly different. Well, it did look slightly different until it was changed to look like this again in a later update. But anyways, redstone was only really used for basic functions, like activating doors with pressure plates, or to be used with levers and buttons, all of which were added in this update. Not long after, in Alpha 1.2.0, redstone started to resemble more of what we would see today. The texture of redstone dust was changed, walking on it no longer broke it, and it gave off that unique particle effect. Interestingly, redstone used to be able to connect through solid blocks diagonally down in its first release, which was also changed here as well. You could also change the direction of rails by simply powering them. Very interesting stuff. At this point in the game's history, for the most part, there were very few changes to redstone until beta, aside from it being used to craft compasses and clocks. That was fine though, because players had finally begun to learn and utilize redstone to their advantage. An early pioneer of Minecraft redstone is Etho, and he invented some famous redstone contraptions that would be the basis for more future innovation. For example, the ticker, as he called it, was one of the first redstone clocks, utilizing the basics of redstone and minecarts that were available at the time. Likewise, as you can see in this old video, players started discovering techniques such as the inverter or NOT gate, which allows you to change the redstone current, as well as extend the redstone signal past 15 blocks, as redstone repeaters did not exist at this time. One of the coolest builds from this time period was the 16-bit ALU by Internet for the Win, which was the first part of a 16-bit computer that would run entirely in Minecraft, and this was done even before creative mode existed. I couldn't even do anything remotely close to this in creative. It's crazy. As we enter Minecraft Beta, the technological side of the game further developed. But before we continue, you know the drill, yada yada yada, only a small percentage of you guys are subbed, whatever, just click the button for me, would you? Anyways, in Minecraft Beta release 1.0 to 1.5, dispensers were added, redstone got darker the further away it was from the power source, and redstone could also be used to craft powered rails and detector rails. Most notably around this time, however, redstone repeaters were added to the game, allowing players to extend or repeat redstone signals past 15 blocks, as well as delayed redstone signals by either 1, 2, 3, or 7 redstone ticks, where one redstone tick is equivalent to 0.1 seconds. This was later changed to 1, 2, 3, and 4 redstone ticks rather than 7. Redstone repeaters were groundbreaking as they could also act as a diode, only allowing redstone signals through in one direction, protecting redstone circuits from a signal trying to enter through the output. And obviously the fact that they could extend the redstone signal past 15 blocks greatly aided players. And the updates did not stop, as only a few months later, specifically Beta 1.7 in mid-2011, pistons and sticky pistons were added to the game, after the creator of a popular piston plugin, Hippoplatymus, gave the code to Jeb. Pistons were revolutionary as they provided one of the first methods of pushing and pulling blocks. I don't think I need to even tell you how influential they were. They enabled so much, but at this time most players would simply use them to build cool piston doors. One of the cooler designs I found was a simple waterfall splitter or secret door design by CNBMINECRAFT way back in October of 2011. Crafty Masterman was also kind enough to show me a few videos of early piston doors, such as this one here, which is considered the first ever 3x3 piston door. Due to the addition of pistons, the redstone mechanism known as toggle flip-flop or T-flip-flop was further improved. A T-flip-flop is basically a mechanism that can turn a button or pressure plate into a lever, storing the redstone pulse. As you can see, early T-flip-flops required much redstone circuitry and were not compact at all, but with the addition of pistons to the game, T-flip-flops could be made far more compact with relatively simple designs. And as Minecraft continued to develop and enter its full release in late 2011, Redstone didn't receive too many updates for a decent period of time. This is where Redstone really began developing and improving due to players, rather than Mojang adding new Redstone support. Another early pioneer of Redstone was SETHBLING. Now, even before the game's full release, SETHBLING has cemented himself as a Redstone engineer, but some of his most unique and creative contraptions wouldn't come to fruition until the game caught up with his Redstone skill in late 2011 and 2012. Some of his coolest builds from the time were his giant egg fryer, a caterpillar conveyor method of transportation, a 2-player trading system, and my personal favorite, a boat drawbridge. I mean, how did he even think of this? Other famous designs from this time period which circulated around the community were the piston-based melon and pumpkin farms, as well as the automatic sugarcane farms. You may also recognize some of the earlier piston doors which Mumbo Jumbo became well known for in its earlier days. And there were many more designs and many other players who pushed the boundaries of Redstone during this period. But let's return to the game's updates now. In Minecraft 1.0.0, the texture of Redstone was finally changed to the red blob we would all become familiar with, but for the most part, as I mentioned, it would receive minimal updates throughout 2012. In fact, it wasn't until early 2013 that we would get a relatively technical and game-changing update. In March of 2013, version 1.5 or the Redstone update was released, adding redstone blocks, daylight sensors, activator rails, trapped chests, weighted pressure plates, but most importantly, hoppers, droppers, and comparators. This is where the age of the automatic farm really began. You see, prior to this update, players who set up automatic farms such as cactus farms or mob farms had to manually pick up the items themselves. They could not be collected and stored in chests. This was annoying because it meant that a lot of the time the items would despawn, and it's also a pain to have to go to them every so often just to deposit items. But the addition of hoppers allowed entities to be picked up and moved into chests, furnaces and more, automizing the item collection side of farms. Hoppers were also game-changing because they allowed for the construction of a far superior version of the redstone clock, later becoming known as the hopper clock. What made the hopper clock so awesome was the fact that the items in the hopper had a set transfer speed of 2.5 seconds, meaning that you could relatively accurately set timers depending on the amount of items you would put in the hopper. The addition of comparators to the game was also fairly monumental. Now, while it took me embarrassingly long to finally understand how comparators worked when I first discovered them, and even to this day I'm still utterly useless with them, once you understand them better, you begin to appreciate them immensely. Comparators can be used to take a redstone signal strength from containers or certain blocks. For example, it can detect the fullness of a chest and output a signal strength based on the number of items in it, enabling players to set up a whole array of unique contraptions. One of which I'm sure many of you know is the item sorter, which automatically sorts and stores different items for you. But not only that, comparators also allowed players to compare the signal strength of multiple streams of redstone, preventing or allowing certain signals through the use of its two different modes, subtraction and comparison. Comparison mode compares two different redstone signals running into a comparator, displaying a certain redstone output based on the strength of both. Subtraction mode allowed you to subtract the strength of a redstone signal from another, displaying the result as the output strength. Like I mentioned, many new additions in this update really supported the construction of farms and item storage systems, and throughout 2013 and 2014, many famous farm designs start to pop up within the community. One example is a famous pigman farm, otherwise known as the donut in the sky, which at the time could get you from 0 to 30 XP in under a minute, as well as netting you roughly 7,000 drops per hour. This farm has gone through many iterations in later years, being picked up by Ilmango, as well as being improved by other players with every update, and has truly stood the test of time, still being one of the best XP and gold farms in the game over 6 years later. Many of the features added in the Redstone update were just so useful and are taken for granted these days. I'm sure almost all of you have used hoppers or redstone blocks to build. Even basic things such as a minecart hopper collection system wouldn't have been possible without this update. Almost all automatic farms rely on blocks from this update, proving why it was so important and influential. Around this time in late 2014, Minecraft 1.8 was released, giving us another revolutionary block, slime blocks. Now, initially slime blocks in snapshot form only allowed players to bounce on them that didn't have their stickiness properties. Thanks to technical server SCICRAFT, who added their own code to make the block sticky, the slime block was able to move other blocks, and Mojang thought this feature was so good that they implemented it into the game. SCICRAFT also invented the first ever flying machine, contraptions that can continuously fly through the air from location to location. Flying machines, while very cool, also became revolutionary, as we would later see them used in various farm designs such as automatic melon and pumpkin farms, and also in world eaters. I wonder if we told players from 2011 and 2012 that in the future of Minecraft you could use flying TNT bombers to remove massive areas of terrain so you could build massive automatic farms in them, if they would believe us. As of right now, the fastest flying machines can go about 5 blocks per second, which is actually faster than a player walking. In Minecraft 1.11, observers were added. Observers were actually a feature of Pocket Edition first, and were added to Java Edition a bit later. Observers acted as a block update detector. So for example, if you placed a block it was connected to, it would give off a short redstone pulse, and same for if you removed one. And observers could detect more than just block placement, as it could also detect events like sugarcane growing in a farm, or a piston being activated. This would not only enhance the ability of automatic farms, but would also make flying machines much more effective. In fact, observers were so often used in builds that it got to the point where players who didn't use them would feel the need to point it out when describing their builds. But for the most part, this is where redstone related updates began to slow down, and players' innovation and skills would once again take over. Players began building massive scale Minecraft farms for almost anything you could think of really. Many technical servers such as SCICRAFT, SciCraft, and Prototech started getting popularity as they continued to push the boundaries of the game, accomplishing the impossible. For example, SciCraft has created some awesome mega witch farms which combine not only one witch hut but 4 in a closed area. They also have a mega fast slime farm, but what's even cooler is a massive redstone computer which counts the amount of slime in their chest, displaying how full their storage is. My personal favorite is their project SciBlock, where they removed over 1 million blocks of bedrock in survival mode, using complex contraptions I'm not even going to try to understand. They did this so they could make their own version of Skyblock within their survival world. Absolutely nuts. I talk about that project and more in my SciCraft video if you're curious. These technical servers have done so many incredible things with the game, and I could be here for hours talking about it all. So let's move on now, and you can have a look for yourself after the video if you're still curious. In 1.13 we got the addition of bubble columns, allowing for a much better method of item transportation, and then a few updates later in 1.15 we got honey blocks. Honey blocks really improved Slimestone, as unlike slime blocks, redstone signals could not pass through them, and players, mobs, and items stuck to them. Mumbo Jumbo had a good video showcasing how useful honey blocks are, especially for piston doors. But for the most part, that's where we are up to currently. Now I should mention that there is a lot I didn't cover, as I mainly wanted to focus on the more notable and impactful updates and changes, and talking about every single detail would take far too long. But let's talk a bit about the future now. Minecraft Redstone is like science and technology in real life, where it is constantly improving year after year. Every time players think that something is at its best, it doesn't take long for somebody else to come up with improvements or new designs. And I think that's what makes it so great. If Redstone and the technical side of the game didn't have such an active and motivated community, I doubt we would be anywhere close to where we are today, as Mojang can only give the tools to the players. It's up to them to utilize them. It's that sense of community, working together to solve issues, or coming up with the next revolutionary farm design that makes it so interesting. Seeing the hundreds of active YouTube channels constantly being creative and pushing out builds and designs that have never been done before just puts a smile on my face. I actually don't know what to expect in the future, but one thing I do know is that I'm sure it will be incredible. I hope you guys found this video enjoyable, and I know that for many of you more advanced Redstoners out there, this may not have been anything new, but I thought it would be nice to just talk about the history of Redstone and how it got to where it is today, similar to how I've talked about the history or evolution of other game mechanics. Be sure to join my new Minecraft server where we are bringing back OG Minecraft, link and IP is in the description. Subscribe if you haven't already, join my Discord and follow me on Twitter, links are also down below. Thank you all so much for watching.